Good evening and welcome to the first of two Inside Government shows for the spring 2022 semester here at Cayuga Community College and broadcast on Spectrum, Verizon Fios, the Auburn Regional Media Access, better known as ARMA, as well as Win 89.1, the college's radio station. I'm your host, Guy Cosentino. Our first guest, as usually occurs with rare exception, and I think last spring was the one exception because we had a snowstorm, is the mayor of the city of Auburn, Mayor Michael D. Quill, who is in the middle of his four-year term as mayor, if I'm doing my math right. He was elected in 2007, started in office in 2008. We've asked him in to the studio to talk about what the city's actions are in regards to COVID, projects the city is working on, including the parking garage, as well as the old Callet site, where there's a pocket park going in there. Welcome back. Happy New Year. Delighted to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back. I just realized how old I'm getting when you told how long I was in office. I've been in office. But thank you.
So how are you in you were here, I think, one of the last shows we did in November. So obviously we had the Omicron variant go up. You and your family doing well?
Knock on wood, everyone's great. Everyone that's been eligible has been shotted. And we had one incident, but it's easy for me to say minor. For the individual, it wasn't. But it all worked out well. We're all good.
And how about city staff? I know you had an issue, as I understand it, over at the police department. Once it's like the common cold or the flu, and we'll have Kathleen Cuddy here on Thursday. It spreads.
It does. And we had one other work area. We have a number of employees, and they involved with many different people, many different situations. But everyone is recouping and feeling well,
and they're all in close proximity.
Yes.
So what are you doing about council meetings? So are council meetings they're still on Thursday nights, but are they by Zoom? Are they in person?
No, our council meetings, probably for the last month and a half, maybe 2 months, we've been in person. If a counselor feels that a council member feels they don't want to attend that particular day, they can Zoom in, but it's been pretty much everyone has been there. So.
And is the public welcome?
Public is always welcome. The only and this will be interesting this week because we no longer need to wear masks at City Hall, the employees. So I haven't asked the right people yet. Do our guests have to wear masks to the council?
So even though there's relief for masks, don't you think masks are a good idea?
Oh, I wear one. I have no problem.
And, when you walked in and you just took it off, because our policy here, it's for the college is run by SUNY, but has the city made the determination that you're not going to have employees wear masks anymore?
No, Mr. Diger is on top of that, so I just go.
But and we're going to hopefully have him in a couple of weeks. But
but for the general public, it's no longer needed. To the best of my knowledge, you still see folks walking around, visitors with them on.
But the council could pass a policy that said, you want to come to City Hall, you got to wear masks.
But,
just like schools do.
I personally, I just wish everyone would go to the same program. Either everybody wears them all the time, or you don't have to wear. I would prefer not to wear them, but there's a lot of obvious reasons why we should.
So you have a new council member.
Yes.
For full disclosure, I happen to work with her, Ginny Kent.
Yes.
I know she was at the New York Conference of Mayors yesterday.
Okay.
So how did you and council and staff transition her into her new responsibility? She's been there about 45 days now.
I think she transitioned us. She knew very well what she was getting into. I think one or two of the procedures at city council meeting may be a little foreign to her, but she's
she had sat on the school board for many years, so that
and she's been a real asset. So I'm glad we're having her.
Good. She's a delight, but you guys can have her a lot less. This is one of the areas I'm going to ask. I know that she is your liaison on water quality issues.
Yes.
So does that mean that all members of council or most members of council sit on some other board and are the liaison?
It just the way it turns out, no one is assigned to do any one particular item or another. Ginny asked. She took over. Councilor McCormick left, and Ginny was elected. And I think she was fallen into the water area to begin with. I think she has an interest in that.
She does, okay.
And when the opening come up, she said she would be glad to continue to serve there.
Well, I ask about that liaison because, for example, you sit on the Syracuse Airport Authority. I don't know that many people know that.
No. But keep in mind, though, that is not a council appointment. I was asked by the past mayor if I would be willing to serve on. I said,
Past
sure.
mayor of Syracuse, and Mayor Walsh has continued that.
That is correct.
So who makes up that board?
There's members from, for example, I believe it's a DeWitt school district. It's mainly the surrounding areas to the airport, geographical areas, DeWitt, North Syracuse. There's one, I think it's North Syracuse Cicero, where they split one. One member goes on for a year or two, and then the other.
Just right adjacent to the airport.
Yes.
So I want to ask you about the airport. You
Sure.
were nice enough to put your executive director here. We had him on the Wednesday morning roundtable.
Yeah.
We had him here. Since he was here, there's been a major facelift, for lack of a better term, to the airport. You've also been able to attract new airlines.
Yes.
So how's that going?
Jason, Jacob is the executive director. I believe that's 99% of his job is recruiting new airlines, new ideas, and so forth and so on. As a board member, it's like city council, just stand back and let the employees do the job and stay out of their way. If you need us, we're there.
So you've got Southwest, you have JetBlue, American. So there's more options now than, let's say, 10 years ago.
And I think Syracuse, with all the work that has been done there physically to the airport itself, I think that's encouraging folks to come in, and it's becoming a much better hub.
And I don't want to get into census numbers, but Syracuse was one of the few cities in New York, besides New York City, that had an uptick in their numbers. Does it help? Does it make it easier from a board perspective if you have more people coming into the city? That makes it easier to attract other airlines to base there.
From what I'm gathering from it, absolutely.
So,
and keep in mind too, a large portion of the business is also cargo.
Yes.
That takes up quite
so
a bit. So
between rail, which is obviously big here, and trucking, but the other issue, I know a guy who gets flowers in at the airport.
Okay.
So I know he has once or twice sent his oldest son to say, "You go pick them up." So, so one of the things that occurred Martin Luther King weekend, so about a month ago, is the city sent out letters to 10,000 property owners, or a combination thereof. But the city recently did a reval, correct?
Yes, correct.
So did you do that in-house? Did you farm it out to a consultant? How was the reval done this time? And you do it every 4 or 5 years.
This one, I believe, was done internally.
Okay.
I believe internally.
So in essence, property values went up.
Yep.
Is a large part of that due to just the run on the economy, where housing prices have just skyrocketed?
Joan and I read the Sunday paper, and they have the property transfers on it.
The D section, I know what page you're talking about.
And there's most of them, probably 70 to 80% of the houses are selling double for what they're assessed for. So God bless, if you can get there for your home, but I look at the other, if I'm going to buy something else, I'm going to pay that much more. So what's causing it? I would love to know, but I don't have an answer for that. But
nobody ever agrees with their assessment, but they all want to sell their house for more than their assessed value.
That's one of my stock answers. Someone complains about their taxes going up. I said, would you sell for that much? Oh, absolutely.
So does that mean with property values, for the most part, I didn't hear a whole lot about, and again, it's from news stories, right. I didn't see a lot of dips. That does not necessarily mean that taxes for everybody are going up.
Correct.
Can you explain that?
If I
a former
could.
member of council, Jim Hutchinson, and I have this debate all the time. So, in essence, the pool has gotten bigger.
The pool has gotten bigger, and the city has certain budgetary issues that we have to maintain. We have to pay the bills, but then we have to look at where is our revenue coming from. The water revenue, strictly for water and so forth. But for city services, it has to comes out of the tax base, and it has to be allotted accordingly as to what we need and what we're allowed to ask for.
So on the document, I just looked at my own. I know that while my property value might have gone up about 30%, and I hear a lot of properties went up that, it doesn't mean that there was equated to the last, you know, if you kept the budget the same, I'm up $50 or whatever. And
you don't go up to 30%.
I didn't go up 30%.
No.
So which leads to my next question. Are you getting a lot of complaints about, other than people get sticker shock when they see that and they don't read the bottom of the form? Because I talked to somebody and I said, did you read the bottom of the form, what your net increase is? Where's that? I said, at the bottom of the form.
Yeah.
So are you getting complaints?
I haven't personally. I know their staff has received some, and the city manager's office has received some. But my only advice is let's wait and see. Let's see what your taxes. Everything goes up. There's no question.
But people can challenge their assessment.
Oh, absolutely.
And so what do? They go to the assessor's office and fill out some forms, and there are some hard deadlines.
Right.
They have to.
That is correct.
So they should call or go on the city's website, or go up to the assessor's office.
Download the form or however and apply for it. That's correct.
And there's a 3-person board that is appointed by the city.
Correct.
They review, and they're the final arbiter unless that person wants to go to court.
Exactly. And that is ongoing now, because I've run into a couple of people that have been in there, and you can tell that they're there. They have their paperwork with them, and they're looking for directions, and they go plead their case, and it's nice. Myself and council, we are out of that. That's not our area of expertise. We seek the board that they apply to, but everything goes up. I hate to say it.
So I want to ask about looking from your window. You're in the corner office on the southwest floor of the first floor of City Hall. I don't think it blocks it, but I don't think the visitor center blocks it. But there's a parking garage right across the street, kitty corner from you. There are some changes occurred there. So what is going on at the parking garage other than it's tight parking?
There was, if you recall, I think it's almost 2 years ago now, there was a fire on the first floor, a piece of ground equipment, and that caused considerable more damage than expected. But it's been there a long time, and like anything else, it's open to the weather. So there were some structural repairs, some decking repairs, many things are going on. I was talking to Mr. Dygert within the last couple of days. They're hoping to close it out pretty quickly, but because of the cold temperatures, it's made it that much more difficult to complete it. Going way back when Joan and I first started dating, she worked at the National Bank downtown, and the parking garage wasn't there. It was just a muddy open field. We used to drive through to drop her off from work or pick her up from work.
Well, because that's a 30, 40-year-old structure now.
Yeah, well,
at least.
We started dating, I think it was around 1975, 76. Okay. So, yeah.
So
she was only 12 at the time.
She was 12. Yeah. You might not want to say that, by the way. Yeah, but so you're in. So things are in process. Are they on track, other than weather related?
Mr. Dyger's the garage project is moving along, though it's slow due to extreme cold temperatures for a few weeks. Work has resumed, should be completed this summer.
So I know the city has put in place, and part of it was COVID related, but not everything's COVID related. Initially, you gave free parking downtown because of COVID. Yes. But you're still giving free parking down there. Is that because of COVID, or is that because you got tight parking numbers in the parking garage?
I think it was a combination of both.
So does that mean that once the parking garages open up, that you will then get rid of free parking downtown?
Well, I can't honestly say yes or no, because there's a lot of variables involved in it. The merchants, and I don't blame them, they would like a little better, a little more freer parking downtown. I understand that. But at the same time, because we have a lot of occupied structures, overnight apartments, people are parking on the street and they're leaving their vehicle there, which hinders traffic the next day for free parking to run into a store or whatever. So it's a balancing act, as most things, if not everything in government is.
But with the exception of maybe that early evening and maybe during the late morning to afternoon, parking has freed up
Yes.
downtown for the most part.
Yes.
So it's those, and it's not only those cars that park there overnight. You got snowplows that need to get through the city as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had a call from a lady the other day. They pulled up to get out of their vehicle. She couldn't get out, and she had surgery on her legs, and she had an awful time. And then there was a big discussion who was responsible for the snowbank in front of it. Was a doctor's office, and I'm not saying it was. I'm not saying it wasn't an office building or whatever. I really didn't find out for sure, but it's the property owner's responsibility
To clear out.
to clear that to the curb.
Do you have any idea how much this project is costing for the parking garage?
No, I don't have it.
Is it local money or is there some state and federal money in there?
I believe it's a combination of both.
So the other project, if I'm going to just play hopscotch
Sure.
of sorts, is what I'll call the Calet area,
Yes.
where you're putting in
Yes.
a pocket park, correct?
Yes, that's
So
correct.
what's a pocket park for those who don't know?
My interpretation of a pocket park is it's a park where a condemned abandoned building was cleared out, and State Street draws a lot of crowds. St. Patrick's Day this weekend, that weekend, and it was felt that maybe if we could put the band or the musicians off to the side a little bit,
Free up the traffic.
free up the traffic and free up space for people to want to watch.
So unlike
Sure.
a park, let's just say Boston Ave,
Hoops
Park,
Hoops
the
Park, yeah.
multiple entrances, this is going to have one main entrance for the most part.
Correct.
Where are you on the status of that project?
That's hoped to be done in the very near future for the spring.
Because I know there's construction equipment
Yep.
on the street.
And there again, it was cold weather and everything else, but they've done their best to do it.
So that's an interesting funding scenario there that has some downtown revitalization initiative money. Is there other monies involved there?
I could look it up, call you back, but I don't have it.
So is the rest of the money, is there a lot of how much is this costing? Any idea?
No,
Okay.
I do not have that. There's so many facts and figures. There's so many things going on. It's really hard to track all of them.
So there were some issues with property owners. I know one was Mr. Camardo.
Yes.
That has been transferred, and all the other properties adjacent. So each of the adjacent, let me say the
If
three
you look
sides.
at it, is a U-shaped.
Right. And so all those property owners have got a piece of that as a buffer.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And I only ask this in the sense that many of your parks are named. You have Mike Lepic Park on Garrow Street. You have Hoops. All these parks. Is this always going to be the Calet Park, or at some point the city, maybe not in the next year or two, but at some point it will get a name?
I know there's some strong pushback against the Calet name being on the park.
Well, in part because they owe taxes.
I won't get into that, but I know there's.
Okay.
But I have not heard. I've heard through social media, everyone has a different opinion of what it should be named. But myself and council and the manager, we have not discussed any naming options or anything.
The best part of Valor is to do nothing.
To do, yeah. I have my own ideas, but that's for another day.
So I mentioned DRI.
Yes.
So are there a couple of other DRI projects have either been completed or they're close to being completed. Yep. Obviously, the biggest one was the fire department.
Yep.
That you opened up in October.
October 28th.
October 20th. Okay, you remember that date?
Well, I asked for it. That was my dad was a retired firefighter.
Yes.
And that was his birthday.
Oh, okay.
So I had a choice between 2 or 3 dates. I said, let's go with this one.
So you had that done. You've got Culinary Institute that the college runs is done. Are there other projects that are done or in process right now?
Well, the list that I have, real quickly, Auburn Public Safety Building, as you mentioned, Rudolph's Ice Cream Shop downtown.
Terrific milkshakes.
Are they? Okay.
Go into Sugar Shock, we'll say that.
There's nothing sweet I don't like. So, Nick's Ride on Chapel Street.
And that is close to being done, or is it done?
That is complete.
That is complete. Okay.
And that was the old convent for Holy Family.
Behind Holy
Family. In the Cayuga Community College Culinary School on Genesee Street. And then we have a couple others that are underway, but they're not completed. The State Street Public Plaza should be wrapping up around June.
Okay.
The West End Arts Campus
That's Schweinfurth and Cayuga Museum.
Yep, is in the design stages. And Business Improvement District's Public Art Project.
That's Jesse Klein and her group doing that.
It's going to the Public Art Commission for approval soon. So.
Okay.
So those are just the top list.
So that's DRI. The other item, and I think you were, maybe you still are, there were these regional economic development councils.
Yeah, the Red Sea.
Red Seas.
Yeah.
Is that still exist?
I have, because of COVID, everything is gone to a Zoom meeting or non-existent. So I haven't been involved in quite some time.
I just wasn't sure if Kathy Hochul, the new governor, was continuing. I mean, obviously she just released her new budget,
right?
But she wouldn't have been in office when the Red Seas would have met last year,
right?
So
I can look it up, but I don't have an answer for that.
So going from the state, let's go a little closer to home. Sure. We've got a new chairman of the Cayuga County Legislature, David Gould,
yes,
who will be here on Thursday. Have you met with him at all?
Not too many years ago, before COVID, we started having myself and the city manager, whoever it was at the time, would meet with the county chairperson. And then we extended it into the school district. And within the last 3 to 4 weeks, we had a meeting with Mr. Perizzolo, the president from the college here, Mr. Gould, Jeff Dygert, and myself, and just no particular item on the agenda, just talking with each other, what's going on, what's new and you. And there was a lot of note taking because there was a lot of good ideas came up.
Well, because in some cases it's worked out to the county, city, and in this case the college. The advantage was Falcon Park alone.
Absolutely.
Because you got a rebate check from the state. So, but I know there was a period of time where, and I want to pick on Doug Selby, who I know you still see on a regular basis.
Well, Doug's involved with the water.
So Doug Selby and you, and then whoever was the county chair and the county administrator when they had one, would meet on a regular basis.
Yes.
Do you see that, whether they go back to a county administrator, and I'll be asking David Gould that on Thursday, as a hint, he might want to have an answer for that. Do you see those meetings continuing, at least in the city and the county level?
The only reason we walked away from it was because of the COVID, and everyone was concerned about where you would meet, how you would meet. But the encouragement I had at the meeting from everyone present, it's a good session just to sit down and talk about what's going on, and it creates other ideas for other leaders. So yeah, I would certainly, I'm going to encourage it, and I believe Mr. Dygert will also.
So we talked about the State Street Park, which I think we'll call that Upper State Street Park. We talked about the parking garage. Are there other projects the city's working on, larger projects that you either in process on or on the drawing board at this stage?
Jenny Haynes and the planning staff, they're terrific. They always have something on the drawing board. And what's great too is they're in tune with Washington and Albany as to what may be coming down the line as far as funding, that we could put a square box into a round hole.
So it's been about 30, and I know Seth Jensen, your director of municipal utilities, has talked to council a couple of times in the last couple of weeks. It's been 30 years since about $50+ million was invested in the sewer and water system. There have not been any major, other than a repair here and there. Are you looking at doing, it was always said that every couple of decades you're going to have to do an upgrade. Are we at a time for upgrades now?
We're getting there. I don't like spending money, but I'm mad at myself if we don't spend the money. This myself personally, trying to keep ahead of the curve, because everything gets to a point where it just physically breaks down, and it's a major overhaul, and it's under emergency conditions. And so I'd rather be more proactive in the preventative maintenance.
So that could, if you're going to do a major upgrade, unless you get some grant money for it, that could result in sewer and water rate increases because you got to pay for it some way.
And that includes all of our outside the city users too. Some areas we sell water to, some we sell water, sewer, with a little bit of everything, but it affects everyone.
And you mentioned outside the city, so if going outside the city to the south, if you're going towards Ithaca, or Ithaca's coming here, South Street, after you get to Metcalf, Clymer, is completely changed.
Yes.
So you got new lights up, the new city lights there, not stiped lights, with new lights, sidewalks. Is that project nearly done?
It is completed to the best of my knowledge.
And
There may be some small housekeeping items.
like punch list.
Yes. Yep.
So is that a city project? Is that a state project?
It was a little bit of both. It was city and state. Okay, so there was state, and I believe there was some federal money involved in it also.
So I can't let you out because there is some political news in the last month. John Cacco has decided not to run for re-election.
Yeah.
The Democrats will have to pick a nominee. Do you have a favorite at this time?
No, not this time. I enjoy working with John Cacco. We're of different parties, and we would tease each other or joke. We're both, but he's always been very helpful and gracious for the city of Auburn, Cayuga County. So.
But I mean, among the Democratic pool, you're not there yet because there are people coming in and there are people leaving. I know there are people on the Republican side. They haven't even had the drawing of the districicts for a very long time.
A lot of the same names that we heard 2 years ago, I believe it was 2 years ago, are a lot of the same names. There may be one or two different, but it's going to take a while.
But you have endorsed Governor Hochul.
Yes.
For re-election.
Yeah,
no.
yes,
So
yeah.
The Democrats are meeting in their convention, I think, starting today or tomorrow. I'm assuming you're not going to the Democratic State Convention?
No.
Okay.
No. I went to one national convention, and it was interesting. I always wanted to see it.
Who was the nominee that year?
Hillary Clinton.
Okay. So 2016.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who is, believe it or not, is a distant cousin. So my family, some would like to hear that, some don't know, but we are distantly related.
Well, I think people may not know, you are very into genealogy.
Very much.
You have spent a lot of time. Hopefully your family will be able to read your notes 40 years from now.
Hopefully, but they'll be there if they want them. If they don't, I understand it. So
we want to thank Mayor Michael D. Quill for joining us over the last half hour as our first guest of the semester. Hopefully he'll be back in later in the semester and give us a city update as well as your city staff. But we want to thank you for the last half hour.
Thank you. Thank you. Very nice time.
We'll be back in just a moment with Auburn Superintendent of Schools Jeff Perazzolo to get a district update on the Auburn School District. On Thursday, we will be back with two back-to-back Inside Government shows. The first one, as I've mentioned, will be Cayuga County Legislative Chair David Gould, who is new to his post as chair, as well as a new member of the legislature. And then we'll have a second Inside Government with a discussion with Kathleen Cuddy, the Public Health Director for the county. We'll be talking a little bit about COVID and the flu and what steps still need to be taken to make sure that people are healthy in Cayuga County. Before we go, though, we would like to let you know that you can send us your ideas for guests and questions to Inside Government or be on the front page. You can send your questions by email to cozguytho@aol.com or by mail to Inside Government, 141 Dunning Avenue, Auburn, New York, 13021. I'm Guy Cosentino for Cayuga Community College. I want to thank you for watching. Stick around. We'll be right back with Jeff Perazzolo. But otherwise, have a good night, have a great tomorrow, and be safe.